This is from Gunpowder Magazine. Pelosi and some other people. Here's the headlines. These Republicans are joining forces with Pelosi to promote a national gun registry. Yep. Out of the 5 Republicans that are joining the push to criminalize private gun sales and so on, the 5 are Representative Peter King, Republican, New Jersey; Brian Fitzpatrick, Republican in Pennsylvania; Fred Upton, Republican; Michigan; Smith from New Jersey; and Brian Mass from Florida. Now, let's see. They want an outright ban on private firearm sales, requiring every gun purchase to be pre-approved by the federal government at your expense. Make it illegal to let your friend or even family members borrow your firearm on a hunting trip. Force all firearm purchases to be registered through the Brady-Nick registration system. Background checks are nothing more than firearm registration system, which has historically been a precursor to full-fledged firearm confiscation. Many point to Nazi Germany as the best example of what comes from gun registration. Most people probably do not know it was the Nazis, not Hitler, who initiated gun registration. It actually was a pre-existing Weimar government initiative put into law because of the fears of the communists and the Nazis. The Weimar government implemented laws that Nazi would later use to oppose the German people, namely German Jews. So Hitler expanded on that government institution. This historical event reminds us of well-intentional laws passed by good people can be used for the next round of political operatives to devastating effect. So why is it so important to stop universal background checks? Well, number 1, they don't work. Number 2, and this is from me, and you take this any way you want. Congress assumes, I'll say that again, Congress assumes they have the authority to push gun laws. They don't. They only have certain specific laws that they are allowed to, areas that they are allowed to meddle in, and your firearms is not one of them. They assume that they were delegated these powers, but they were not. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says that Congress has the power to mess with your firearm. It does say in your 10 amendments, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's a starting point right there. Why are they got away with this? Because back in 1927 and like 1934 the gun law, 1938 another gun law, and then 1968 another gun law, they assumed that they had the power back then to do this. And why did they get away with it? Well, here's the main reason. Most people were, back in the 30s and the 40s, I mean, they were lucky to get a 6th or 7th grade education back then. Not that they were stupid. They had a lot of knowledge, but the Constitution and stuff wasn't really pushed back in those days because everybody, kind of like a Pelosi, they assumed that the government would stay within the restrictions and leave them alone, but they didn't. So that's how they got away with it. So after all these years, these Congress people still assume they have the power because they got away with it in the 30s. Like I said, the people weren't as knowledgeable back then as how things got pushed as far as they have down the road. They kept kicking the can, kicking the can, kicking the can, till the can was flat. Now it's flat now, and you're not going any further. You better wake up to this, people. You're more knowledgeable now than our parents were in the 30s and the 40s growing up. We know what the Constitution says. We can read it, and they have to interpret it the way that you say it's interpreted, not by what they assume that they can do. Any judge in these states has to follow the Constitution. Period. Don't matter what judge it is, they have to follow the Constitution. It's the supreme law of the land. It overrides all this other stuff that they keep coming up with. If it ain't in the Constitution, they don't have any power. There's nothing in there that says the Congress has the authority to mess with your firearm. It does say that they can't. It does say they can't. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, these people assume they have the power. They've never had that power. They just got away with it because the people of the United States, we were kind of backwoods then, you know. And like I said, we took it for granted that the federal government would keep out of business that didn't concern them. But you find out that's not the case. And they pushed and pushed and pushed until the people say, we don't have to comply with anything. You people don't follow the Constitution. Okay, guys, I'll put a link to this. Thanks for watching.